Alright, so in this tutorial, I am going to basically set up how to get your, get your symbols in position. What I'm going to do first is actually just kind of draw out what we're looking for, just so you get the idea. Okay, so we're going to do this, you're going to do it 3 times because you have 3 panels, but you would draw one panel, right? So you'll have a panel, and then inside of this panel, we have to have all of our assets, okay? So, what that means is, I gotta have, a background, right? And then we need to have, our character, more than likely. This tree looks like a character, but it's not meant to be. It's a tree. Okay. And then those would have to go inside of here, okay? Now, the background might be made up of, the ground and also a tree, okay? And maybe also a sky, right? So we would take all 3 of these, make these items, and we're going to stick it inside of this, and then that goes inside of this, all right? Now this guy, which will be also our button, this would be made out of a button, okay? So, which will be basically the guy, and then maybe some animations, so I don't know how to say it's like this, okay? And also a button, I said that earlier, so it just makes this look like a hand, okay? And maybe just a drawing of him, okay? But basically we have to make all of these elements and put it inside this, inside of this, and then that also goes in there, and then all of that goes inside of this, and that's basically what we need to do to make a short story long. All right, so in this one I have basically these drawings I brought in from Photoshop, which I have a feeling a lot of you guys probably will end up doing, but you'll bring in your drawings, okay? So the first thing I want to do is just basically draw out my panel, okay? So I'm just going to use the rectangle tool. Let me go to the properties here, and yeah, I don't know, stroke, let's do 4, so it's a little bit thicker. Let me see. That's fine. And if I do this, this will make it rounded, so let's do, I don't know, 15. What does that give me? Yeah, just gives me slightly rounded corners. And then the fill color, I'm going to do none. All right, so click on that fill color. And then I'm just going to draw like a panel. So we'll say that this is where my stuff will fit into. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and be like, that's my panel. Yay. Let's also, well, that's not quite done. So we got that. And then I'm going to take the rectangle tool again. This time I'm going to zero this out. And I'm just going to go right from the edge here. Or actually, we'll just overlap slightly like this. Boop. Alright. Okay. And then I'm just going to fill in the space in between white. So I'm going to go to this, the fill bucket, and then we'll just, I'm going to do it slightly off-white so you can see it. Okay. Okay. And we'll just call this my panel. And basically my stuff will go inside of this panel. But there's my panel. Alright. So I'm just going to select the whole thing. And we're going to go modify, convert to symbol. And just go ahead and choose movie clip. And we're just going to call it panel 01. Because it's our first panel. And we'll hit OK. Now, if you look in the library, I have my drawings that I had before. And now I have this. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of that. Okay. So now that's gone. Now inside my panel, I'm going to need a background. So I already have this artwork, but if you have a drawing you made inside of here, you just use that. But I'm just going to drop this background in here. And I want to, see how it's like not straight in there? A nice kind of quick way to do this is if you right click over top of the illustration, you go to arrange, or sorry, align, and we could do vertical center. And then, hang on a second, align to stage, okay. And then we'll do, let's just say left. And that way it will align with the thing here. So I'm just going to take this and literally, there's no other elements in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and convert this also. We're going to do modify, convert to symbol. And I'm just going to call it background 01. Okay. And we can leave that also as a movie clip. Hit OK. Yay. And now I can actually just delete that. And if you look, you'll see that I have this background. And I have my drawing still. The background's obviously just the drawing inside of a symbol, but I'm just making my assets, okay? I'm going to make another folder here. And we're just going to do artwork. and I'll put these 3 inside of this artwork so that we don't see those. And I'll make another folder, and I'll just call this symbols. Okay, and then we'll put these inside symbols. All right, so this is what we're making. Artwork is the stuff we brought in, but we're not going to be using that directly. We're going to be using these. Okay, so I have my background for my first one, and I have my panel for my first one. Now the other thing I'm going to need is the character here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this illustration. I'll just use the first one here. So boop. All right, and right. So for this, I'm just going to go ahead and do modify, convert to symbol, and again we'll just use it as a movie clip, and I'm just going to call it character 01 is my first character, and we will hit OK. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in symbols, and I'm going to minimize artwork. And if you look, so basically I got and I can make a folder just for panel 1, but I'm going to shut the window. Hang on. Okay, and I can delete this now. All right, so, but anytime I want to grab one of these, like I want the character, I can pull them in here. Okay, and if I want the background, I can pull it in here. All right, so what I want to do is I want to edit this panel, because these 2 elements should be inside of this symbol. These 2 symbols go inside of this symbol. So I could drop it in here and double click on it, but you can also just double click on it here, and you're going to see it's going to open it up. Right now on the top, you can see it says scene 1. So I'm going to double click on this. Make sure you click on the symbol, not on the word, because it'll ask you to like rename it. And now if you look, you'll see it says panel 1 up here. And what I want to show you is if I click over here, it brings me back out, but I'm not inside. I'm inside of this thing's basically scene. Okay, so I'm gonna double click back on this. All right, and you can see we have this this layer here. Okay, so it says layer 1. This is what is inside of this panel currently. I'm gonna go ahead and rename this, and we're just gonna call this frame, because that's the frame. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and lock it, because I don't want to, I'm just having it there so I have something to look at. All right. Good. All right. So we got that. Now, inside of that as well, I'm also going to need basically the background. So I'll make a new layer. Just click this little new layer button, and we'll rename this one just background again. Background. Okay. And I'm going to drop my background into that. Okay. Now you'll notice, just hang on a second. Notice that if we... I only have one scene, but you notice that it's empty, so there's nothing in this layer yet, right? This one has the frame in it, but this one does not. So make sure you're in this one. I'm gonna drop the background in there, and I'll just try to match it up roughly. Okay, and that's good. I'm gonna go ahead and just click and drag this underneath the frame 1. So basically it's in there, and I'm just gonna hit Q to resize. I'm gonna hold Shift as I do this, just because I want to see more of this. So we get something that looks like that. Great. Okay. Now, if this background had more elements in it, like mine, I only have literally 1 drawing. But if yours was made up of drawings, what you'd want to do is this. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename these. So I'm just going to back out of this. Okay. So I click back on scene. Again, I didn't do anything, but if you click on the panel, you'll see that now that panel has been updated. And if I drop this in here, you see that panel, if I double click on it, it has those parts. Okay. I'm just going to delete that. But if the background was made up of more pieces, what I would do is the same thing. I would double click on it, and then if I had more artwork like trees or houses or other things, I would plop them all into this in layers, just like I did with the panel. Okay, but in my case, it doesn't have that, so I'm gonna open the panel back up. All right. Now the other thing obviously this needs is the character. All right, so I'll make another layer, and I'm gonna put it underneath the frame, because I'm gonna put the frame on top so that it kind of blocks out the outside there, and we'll just call it character. Okay, and you can name yours with your actual character name, and here's character 1, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop that in there, and there we go. Now I'm gonna hit Q to resize it, and click and drag. It's just this one here. It's the free transform tool, and good. All right, so now I've got my character, and we basically have got our composition together. Okay, so right now though, just to show you something, if I hit Control Enter to preview it, what you're gonna get is nothing. You're going to get this gray block, because if you look, if I back to the scene, it's not actually in the scene yet. I'm just inside this symbol. Okay, so I just want to get the idea that we're making all of our assets, and then we'll plop them in there. But so anyways, I got this panel. I'm going to open this one back up. Now, this dog, needs to have more stuff with it. It needs to have a button in it. It needs to have animation in it. This is going to be my most diverse, piece. Okay, so I could do this a couple of ways. I could double click on the character, and I could see this in here, and I'm inside the character and I back out, right? So, but I think what would be better is if I actually keep in the panel. I'm going to double click on it here. And this way the panel will be behind it and I can kind of see it. This is how it exists inside of the panel, and you'll see why I want that in a second. All right, so right now this is the only thing that's on there. It's just this one drawing that says layer 1, and I'm just going to go ahead and rename this anim. I'm going to put the animation, yeah, I'll put the animation on here. Okay, so this will be our animated component. All right, now yeah, so we'll do that. And that looks fine. And then the other thing we're going to need is, so I got that. That's going to be this guy here. What I'm going to want to do inside of this as well is, I want a button. So I'm going to do another layer here. And we're just going to call this button. And I need to make a button element, because what I want to do is I want you to have it click the dish, and then he's gonna come in. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is in here, I'm just going to draw like a circle that roughly represents. It doesn't need to look perfect. Okay. And then I'm gonna double click on it, and we're just gonna convert this to a symbol. Okay. So we're gonna do modify, convert to symbol, and we're gonna make it a button. All right, and we'll just call it character underscore btn for button. Okay. Now I want to open this up so I can see the button elements. All right, so I now have this button in here. What I want to do is this. I don't actually want to see the button. I don't actually want to, like, see this gray. I want to just click on the dish. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm inside of it, if you double click not on it, it brings you back one. So now I'm back to character. So I'm double clicking on it. What I want to do is on up, I don't want to see anything. I'm just going to hit delete, turn that off. On over, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have that. Basically what this is going to do is it's going to show you, these are like what's visible while you have the button there. So I'm just going to go ahead and again use the oval tool. And I'm going to use no outline. And the color doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use black. And I'm just going to draw, oops, not there, sorry, on hit. I'm sorry, on over. I'm going to go ahead and use this text tool. And I'm going to use a font that doesn't look terrible. I'm going to use Comic Sans because that kind of makes sense. We're going to do Comic Sans. Everybody loves Comic Sans. And the color, I'll do like bright red so I can see it. And then we'll do like 24-point font. And I'm just going to write click me. All right. And that's still kind of small. So let's do 42. Okay, that's fine. And then, oh, it's on up right now. I'll move that over afterwards. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm also going to draw an arrow. And we'll just use this. And let's make that smaller. And here's my pen. Oops. Thank you. Come on. And we're just going to draw an arrow. And make sure I got this on. Ugh, that looks like junk. We'll say that looks fine. Okay. So we got that. Now, I don't want that to show up on up, which means that it's just always going to be there. What I want to do is I'm going to take that. I'm just going to click and then drag it over. So it's only on over. When you're not hovering over it, it doesn't show anything. But when you hover over it, it's going to show this word. Now on down, I could do something if I wanted. I'm not going to. On hit, this is kind of the thing that's a little bit different. I want you to go ahead and I need to make an empty keyframe. So let's get F8 or F7, sorry. And this is going to determine what the hit location is, meaning where the actual physical button is. So I'm going to use black. Literally the color doesn't matter. It's just for the purpose of illustration. I'm going to draw this. So basically, this is where the button's going to be. They're not going to see this. This is like the location that's the hot spot. Okay. So you can even see here how they make it kind of blue when I back up. Okay, but all we really need is over. So when I hover over, it's going to say click me, and then you click on it. This determines where the clicking spot is, right? I can't click over here. It has to be on this. And then it will run whatever code's attached to it. Okay, that just makes it so that it's functioning. All right. Okay, so from there, what I want to do is this. I got this thing going, and that's fine. Just so you get an idea, I'm going to go ahead and back out of this all the way to scene. All right, and you can see my panel's not there. I'm just going to go ahead and bring the actual panel in here so that we can preview it. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. We'll do like that, and I'll hit Control Enter so that you can see. All right, and now you'll see I have this panel here. Now watch. When I hover over this, notice that my cursor turns into a little hand. That means I can click on it. But that's because of that circle that I drew. It's actually based off the circle. Okay? And this happens because when I hover over, it says click me. Now nothing's going to happen. I haven't attached anything to it. But that's basically what we have. And the dog's behind here, so you don't see him. Okay? But this is all part of the dog element. The dog symbol that we made earlier. Okay. So let's double click back on that. And then character. Double click on the character. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want this animation of him just kind of walking in, right? I'm just going to slide him in for now. So, I don't know. We'll say it takes 2 seconds. So I'm just going to go to here on the anim, all right? And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to hit F5, or you can right-click, sorry. We'll do it this way, and insert frame. Okay, so we just create an empty frame, and it's going to go for 2 seconds. Now, there's no animation here, so I got to right-click on this timeline part and go to Create Motion Tween. Selection not tween, must convert this symbol in order, cancel. So if I'm looking at this, oh, he's the original drawing. See, he's not a symbol. So in order for it to animate, he has to be a symbol. It won't let me animate just the straight up drawing. So we're gonna have to take him and just convert him to a symbol. So let's just modify, convert to symbol, and we will call this, we'll make it a movie clip, and we're just gonna call it, character, let's see, I already have that. Character drawing, I guess we'll call it. Okay. Now it'll let me do it. So then I'm going to right click on this, and we're going to create a motion tween. And all I'm going to do is that you can see he's here. I'm going to go to the last frame, and I'm just going to move him, slide him in like this. And so basically the animation that plays goes like this. Now, if I were to preview this, what you're going to see is this. Keeps going over there. It's just going to keep looping that animation, all right? Which isn't what we want. We only want the animation to play when we want it to play. So I'm going to exit out of that, and we need to fix that. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it so that on the very first frame here, I'm going to click on the first frame here. We're going to go ahead and make some code that just says stop. Don't play. So to do that, you can hit F9, or if you go to Window, Actions. Okay. And then you probably don't know what to write. Neither do I. I'm going to hit this little code snippets button. And what this does is it gives me a bunch of options of things I can put in here. So you can see there's ActionScript, WebGL, and HTML5. We're using HTML5 because basically it's JavaScript and jQuery. It's a little more standard. ActionScript is kind of the native language of Animate because it used to be Flash. But most of what's in here is also in there. So we're going to use HTML5. We're going to do timeline navigation because we're interested in whatever. And then we're going to do stop at this frame. So I'm just going to double click. And you'll see it'll automatically say this dot stop. And it automatically creates a new layer called actions. Okay? And it says stop. So now if I were to hit Control Enter and preview it, you're going to see that nothing happens. Okay? Because it stopped at the first frame. I still have my button, but it stopped. So, that's looking, acceptable. All right, so let's go ahead and exit out of that. All right, so it's going to stop. So now what I want to have happen is I want when I click on my button, I want the animation to play. Okay? So what I want you to do is select the button here. Right? So there's the anim, which is the dog, and then there's the button element in here. You're going to select that button, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say click to go to frame and play. So just double click on that. Requires an instance name. Okay, hang on a second. So with the button selected, it'll automatically do it, but it's better to make it. You select the button. Let me just exit out of these so you can, it's not distracting. You select the button, and then up here it says instance name. Let's just go ahead and we're going to say dish underscore btn. Okay. So this is just the instance name. It's the way it's how the coding selects objects. It doesn't see them by the names that we make up or whatever, you know, like I called this one character or whatever. It uses this name. So, because what can happen is you can have multiple instances of things, and so you need to have like a unique name for the objects. Okay, so now we can actually apply that code. If you really don't care, you can just tell it to do it, and it'll automatically make it for you. But in our case, I'm just not going to do that. Where are my window actions, code snippets? HTML5 canvas, timeline. So we want to click, go to, and play. Make sure you have that button selected. And now you're going to see right here, it automatically creates this code. Smooth this over a little. And it says this, which we'll talk about what that means later on. But basically it just means what it's attached to. And in this case, it's the dish button. It's going to add event listener, blah, blah, blah. And then it's going to go, it's going to apply this, go to, and play. And it's going to start playing on frame 5, which is not what we want. We actually want to start on frame 2. So I'm going to change this to a 2. So it's going to go to frame 2, and then it's going to play. All right. And that should be it. So what we want to do is let's just test this. Control Enter or Command Enter, depending on your. All right. So if you look, nothing's happening. If I click on this dish, he comes waltzing in, and then it restarts from the beginning. So I would have to do another stop at the end, which we'll do just so that you see it. So if I want to do a stop at this very end here, I'm just going to go to on my actions tab here. I'm going to go to the last frame, and all I'm going to do is over here, I'm just going to say stop at this frame. Okay. Now what I want you to notice is, let me bring this over. We have frame 1, and on frame 1, these are the scripts that are there, because on frame 1 we have this stop, and we also have on the button, it has a script attached to it. And then on frame 48 is this other stop. Okay, so now if I control enter and we preview it and I bring it over, and if I click on it, he's going to come over and it's going to stop right there. All right. Now, one thing you might notice is if you look at, it's kind of zoomed in a bit here. Oop, let's close out of these. I'm just going to do one more thing to this. Double click on the character. Let's back this thing up. Okay. Oh, because I'm on the last frame. That's why. Okay. So one thing you might notice is that he kind of comes in and then it stops, but he's just sliding across. So if I want to do, like I did those 2 drawings here. I have these 2 different ones to make it look like he's walking on his hind legs. If I want to do that, I need to basically add it to this symbol that we made. All right, so I have to select this one and go inside of it. So let me just see. We got these other symbols. I'm going to put these inside of my symbols folder. Okay, so I have the character button, character drawing. I got to open up that one. That's what this one is. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click on them, and now you'll see we're in character drawing. And in here, I'm just going to add some keyframes. So literally, I'm going to say we'll have this hold for a couple frames. So I'm just going to go to here, and then I'm just going to create an empty one. We're going to hit F7, which creates a blank keyframe. All right, or you right click and insert blank keyframe. And then what I want to do is I'm going to put this other drawing I have. So this one, I'm going to put him in here. Now, I can't tell where to register him in comparison to the other one. I can kind of guess. If I want to see like my previous frames, you can click down here on either one of these 2, and these are onion skinning. So one does outline, and one does like the fill, I guess. So I'm going to put on that one, and we're just going to put it like this, and I'm just going to try and make it roughly the same. All right, I'm going to turn that back off. So now he's in the same area. Now, right now, if this were to play, it's going to look like this, and it's going to hold this for 1 frame. So I just want to extend this the same as that one. So this I put on frame 4. Actually, I'd rather have it on 1, 2, 3. I'd rather have it on frame 5, and then we'll end the last one on frame. I guess should wait 1, 2, 3 on this one here. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to hit F5 to extend, or you right click and you just do insert frames. So now this one holds for this many, and then I did the other drawing, and then that's going to hold, and then it will loop back over here again. So it's always going to play this animation back and forth. Now I'm just going to double click to back it up. Just not on him. I'm going to double click, and then double click again. Not on. Okay, that's not working. I'm just going to click on the scene 1. Now we'll Control Enter, and that went over there. We'll bring us over here, and you'll see when I hover over it, I click, and he's going to walk over. Unfortunately, he keeps doing his animation, so that's another thing I'd have to work on. But you can see he's super excited about his food dish. And that is the basic tutorial. Alright, so that's that section. Now, what we did is we completed one panel. So you'd basically do the same thing for each one of your panels. And then what you'd want to do is hook them up together. Okay, so what I'm going to do real quick here is I just have everything on this frame 1. I'm going to double click on this, on that, so on the actual panel here. So I open it up, and then you can see I have the frame locked. I just want to take this outline. I'm just going to double click and make it gone. So that way, if I put 2 of these together, like so, you see no outline. So I just wanted to do that, because otherwise, if I leave that outline there and I have another one of these, right, and I duplicate it, there's going to be like black line between, and it won't look as smooth. Okay, so that's the only reason I'm getting rid of this outline. Okay, and I can lock that back up. All right, so let's go back out. So we have this one scene here. So imagine you did more of these. I'm just only doing the one, but let's say I want to put these side by side by side. This is what you're going to want to do. So you would finish all of them. So you should have a panel 1, which would have all of your stuff inside of there. A panel 2, which would have all the things inside there, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm just going to put it over here. I'm just going to keep using the same one because it's just simpler that way for me. And I'm just going to put it like that. Okay. And then we'll just go over here, and I will do a third one. And we'll just overlap again. Okay. So basically I have 3 in a row here. Alright. And all we're going to do is we're just going to make a button that you'll click on the side here, that when you click, it's just going to go from the next one to the next one to the next one. It's very similar to what we already did before. Okay. So in order to make this a little bit easier so these all move together, I'm going to take them and basically make them one large symbol. So I'm going to select all 3 of these and just do modify, convert to symbol. And we'll call this, you can leave it as a movie clip, it's fine. We'll just call it all panels. And that way they're one big group. And so when I go to move these, I can just move them in one hole and it's not like weird. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to make an animation. It's just going to slide this from this one to the next one and then to the last one. Okay. So we're starting off obviously with this one here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger too, so that, let me see. Good, that way the other ones don't show up. Okay. So we're going to start here. I'm going to put it like that. All right, good. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to have this like that, and I'm just going to say it's going to take 1 second. All right, so we're going to go, so 1 second to slide to this one, then another second to slide to the third one. So we'll go ahead and we'll go all the way to 2S. So I'm going to right click on this, and we're going to insert frame, and then we're going to right click on this and do create motion tween. And all I'm going to do is at the 1 second, I'm going to take this and I'm going to hold shift so it doesn't move up and down. And I'm going to shift this like this so it goes to my second panel. And then I'm going to go to the end one here. I'm going to hold shift and click and drag so it goes to the third panel. And then you'll see, right, so right now it's just going to play right through them. It's not going to do anything. So what I need to do is I need to tell it to stop on each one of these. So click on the very first one, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to go to Window, Actions, click on the little code snippets button, HTML5 Canvas, Timeline Navigation, stop at this frame. Good. And then we're going to go here and do the same thing again, because we want to stop on this one. Stop at this frame. Good. And we'll go to the last one and do the same thing again and stop at this frame. Okay, so we basically have a stop for each one of these, and we're just gonna make a button that says play, and that's literally all it's gonna be. It's very simple. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let's see. Well, we'll need this in a second. Let's close that out. So I'm gonna make another layer, put underneath the actions, and we'll just call this next button. All right, and we'll rename this one panels so that we know what it is. Okay, so next button, and all we're gonna do is make a graphic, and I think, let me see, where's the polystar? I think there's like a shape tool, is it not? Well, I'm just going to do it simple because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But I would make it look nicer than this. So we're just going to use this tool, and I'll make it, I don't know, green. Okay. So run that. Okay, good. So we're going like this. All right. So there's, this will just, and we'll just write next on it. Where are you? Oops, we don't want it to be written in green again. Let's change this color. Let's make it black. All right, I'm just going to write. Okay, get back in there. Okay, I'm going to write next. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take that and this drawing here. We're just going to convert that to a symbol. Okay, so I can hit F8 to or go to modify, convert to symbol, and this time it's going to be a button. And we're just going to say next _ BTN. And while I'm here, I'm also going to go to the top here and write the same thing and title this next _ BTN. Okay, just so that I have its instance name already determined. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and open up this next button to see its comp here. So we'll leave its up, looks like that. I'm going to go to over. I'm just going to hit F6, and all I'm going to do is just have it shift up. That might be a bit much. It's going to go a couple up. So when you hover over it, it's going to kind of raise up. And then when you click down on it, I'll hit F6 again. I'm going to have it like, let me see, like when you push down on it, it's going to just move down slightly. Maybe we'll change the color too. We'll make it a little bit darker. And then when it's on up, I'll take this. I'm going to make it, I don't see anything that's really much lighter. I'll go this way with it. Make it a little bit lighter. Okay. So on up, just the regular, nobody's messing with it, looks like that. If you're hovering over it, it'll be a little bit lighter and up. And when you push down, it'll be darker. And then I can leave the hit alone. It will just use the actual shape itself. But I could draw in the hit like we did here. But I'm not worried about that. All right, so we can back out of this. That's purely aesthetic. It doesn't really matter. So now we need to actually apply the function. So I got it selected. I'm going to go to Window, Actions, and Code Snippets. And we're going to go ahead and again open up this timeline navigation, and you want to click to go to frame and play. So we're going to double click on that, and you'll see it says blah blah blah. It's got all that stuff. Now, what I want it to do is actually not to go, because what will end up happening is it's going to go to a specific. It's going to go to a specific frame, right? So now it's going to go 5, and I can't say 2. It would work for the first one if I go to and play at 2, but that's not going to work every time. So I just kind of guessed, and this does work. I'm going to take this out, and we're going to do this dot play, I think, like that. And let's just, let me just double check to make sure that that's correct. Pull this over. It looks like this. I can click this button, and he comes over, and it's like, yay. And if I click next, it'll go to the next frame. Click, comes over. Obviously, each one of these would be different. Click next, go to next frame. You know, it only does it once. Okay, and then next, and it'll just loop currently, which I guess I already did them all, so now there's nothing to do. But you get the idea. All right. Right. So basically, I just changed from this go to and play. There's a function called just play. And I just have it play, because if it just plays after it's stopped, it'll just go to the next thing. And even though it's stopped, I say play, and it'll override it because it was the next thing that happened, and so on and so forth. So that's how you would basically set up the entirety of it. All right. Good to the lux. All right.